You mentioned before that you came from a Christian family, and your writing in some of your early music had sort of a religious tone to it. But I understand that you've taken sort of a departure from that.
Well, I think, well, if you look at the stuff that's on, like, our first record, I think there's big hints even then that, like, when I do talk about that stuff, that it's not a honeymoon period type of discussion. Like, it's even then, it's still kind of like a, I'm with you, but I'm not really 100% like feeling it's like something is
seeking, searching.
Right. Like I'm not 100% bought into this, like maybe I used to be, and I think that a lot of Christians really relate to that. Like one of my favorite songwriters of all time is Dave Bazan. You familiar with him?
I know the name, but I don't know the music. Amazing
songwriter. He was in his band was Pedro the Lion for a long time. And one of the things that I always loved about him when I was a Christian was just that he just unabashedly wrote about doubt and how, like, he has this one lyric really early on about some days I don't love you at all, like talking to God, and I was just like, that's so amazing that because in Christian music you can't write stuff like that and get away with it, you know. But I just always loved that he would just come out and say, like, you know, some days I just think this is bullshit. I'm not into it, don't believe it, you know. And he was very open about his doubt, and now he is completely left the fold. Like his new record is called Curse Your Branches, and it's all about his deconversion, which kind of makes me feel like a jackass for us putting out one next year. It's all about the same shit. But
similar experiences though.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not insincere.
No, yeah, totally. But so there's stuff in Shine Honesty that kind of hints at things kind of moving that way, and then by the time Everyone You Love came out, like there's a lot of, I think, conflicting theologies, and whereas at like the very last song says, you know, there must be a God, you know. But then kind of there are other elements in the rest of the songs that are just kind of like, oh, there might not be. You know? It's very, like, I don't know, conflicting. So I think you'll be able to see a progression throughout the records that hopefully will feel natural and not, like, confrontational as much. But the writing, the theme for the new record is very much all about that.
About turning away from faith,
right, kind of, and changing, you know, your mind about whether or not faith is even a good thing or an admirable thing, or because, you know, especially growing up in the Bible Belt, like, of course it is, you know, you're just kind of taught that,
right? Like, it's sort of an unquestioned thing,
right, very unquestioned, and that's kind of the problem with it. Is it's like the one area of our lives that we don't allow ourselves really to be critical of.
Whenever you do these kinds of spiritual transitions, you obviously have like personal struggles, like family struggles, and I assume that'll be coming out in your music with how you deal with that. Well, and it's not like you just suddenly say, I believe in something else. Right.
And everyone just goes, okay.
Yeah,
because like so much of your character is all that has been wrapped up in that.
Exactly.
And like Dave Bazan has a great song about it called Bearing Witness on the new record, and talks about, he has this one line and it says, it may blur the lines of your identity and alienate your family, you know, and
exactly.
And I'm like, yeah, that's what it does.
I wish I would have written that.
That's exactly what it does. And because it made some weird experience. Like my brother's a youth minister, like, so we've had some weird things last year, but things have all calmed down, and I think we've all kind of realized, or have at least settled into more of a live and let live, you know, thing. And it was, you know, it's a big thing.
Was it like a proclamation at once, or was it over time?
No,
that they were kind of
understanding. I came home from work one day, and because I hadn't even really talked to my wife about it, and just because it was such an internal like struggle for me, because I was really wanting to like hold on to this, and really kind of part of me was just like scared of what people would think of me, because my identity was still really wrapped up in my faith. And so but I told my wife one day, I was like, I think I'm having a crisis of faith. And she was like, well, what are you talking about? And I just said, I cannot justify a belief in God. I
just out of the blue, you said this to her without having. Okay.
Came home from work today. I was like, I've kind of realized that I can't justify a belief in Christianity or anything that I've claimed to believe. Like, the more I research, the more I think about it. Like, there's not enough evidence or whatever to back it up, and I don't think I believe it. Like, and as weird as that is, like, to admit to yourself, like, I just don't think I believe it anymore. And she kind of admitted, she was like, well, I kind of never really cared that much about it. I was kind of in it for you, and like, so, yeah. And I was like, yeah, I kind of figured that's how you were. And she's like, then why have you been letting me like pretend? And I was like, I don't know, thought you enjoyed it. Whatever. That's the other thing, like, people like act like I just hate Christianity or something. Like, no, like, I really don't. Like, some of the best memories of my life are in the church, like with the church, on doing church stuff, you know. And I loved being a Christian, like I really did. That's why took me so long to just admit it to myself. And if my daughter hadn't been being born, like, I might still be operating under that, you know, self lie or whatever.
So it was your daughter's birth that caused you to reconsider, because I think some people might stick with it to have the stability for the child.
Yeah, but it was really important to me when she, like, Leia was pregnant when I told her, like.
So how long ago was this?
Probably about almost 2 years.
Okay, so it's fairly new.
Yeah. But she, like, Harper was, when I decided to actually kind of come out with it and not just, because I had kind of just was like, well, I'm just gonna, whatever, who cares anymore anyway, and it's not a big deal, you know, and whatever. I'll still tell my parents that I believe, or whatever they need to hear to kind of make them feel comfortable. And but then the more I kind of thought about it, like, Harper was going to be born, and I was just like, I'm not going to lie to my kid.
Okay.
Like,
good.
And I'm not gonna. I don't want that influence on her. You know, I don't want her to, you know, just accept that stuff blindly because she's a child, like I did. You know, because some voice of authority told her that that's the way the universe operates. You know, so when she was born, it was the catalyst for me to kind of come out and say, okay, family and friends, like, I'm not really this guy anymore. So if it hadn't been for her, like, I might still be operating under that delusion. But I just didn't want that for her. I didn't want her to ever have to worry about or wonder about, you know, how the universe operates, and if there's something wrong with her because she doesn't have a relationship with Jesus. And it may be one day that she comes to me and says, Dad, I decided I believe in Jesus, you know, and that may be her act of rebellion. Like that.
It happens. It happens that way sometimes.
Totally. But, you know, if that happens, then, you know, I'll probably just be like, okay, well, have you considered this? Have you considered? You know, I'll probably just present to her all the same problems that I had with it, and if she has an answer for it, then great. You know, maybe she can pull me back in the fold. You know, like, it's not the worst place to be. Yeah, but I'm not gonna just jump back in with no reason to. So.